does a bowl win, in particular this Citrus Bowl, does it really help the next season and into the offseason? Will the Citrus Bowl win help the Vols?
I think this type of win, I want to say it's going to be neutral because there were so few players that will be back in the rotation that were in that bowl game. It won't be like, look, sometimes bowl losses help you. I think the 42-17 thrashing by Nebraska helped Tennessee so much for the Fiesta Bowl the next year when they played Florida State. I think that's why you've heard it, Dave, right? That Fred will tell you that's why they won the national title, right? They spent the whole offseason getting kicked into high gear to try to go win that national title. Michael Jordan will tell you the best thing that ever happened to him was losing that game 7 to the Pistons the next year, because that's what made him work out so hard in that offseason. They probably would have beaten the Pistons anyway, but I don't know if they win 6 rings with that level of determination. So the losses, I feel like in bowls sometimes help than wins. I think this type of bowl game, I don't think it does any real positives for them, but I could be wrong. But I don't think it does any real positives for them.
Well, I think you answered, in my opinion, answered the question correctly. You don't know. You don't know how they're going to take a loss or a win. I think with the excitement around Nico and the fact that this team could do something special and make a 12-team playoff, which I think they will, is I think you build off that, and it's exciting. And I think this team has the leadership, especially with a Cooper Mays coming back and a Keenan Pili, who somebody pointed out on Twitter hasn't played much, but I'm told he's an incredible leader in the locker room already. Okay, so, and has been since he arrived on campus. So I think with the leadership, you'll be good. It just depends how you accept it. Do you sit on your laurels? I mean, when Tennessee, and this is in the book, but when Tennessee came back from the 98 national championship, then it would be the 98 Fiesta Bowl, which led into the 98 season, right? Okay. So when they lost that game, and they lost the Orange Bowl, Orange Bowl. I'm getting messed up. Orange Bowl, Peyton's last game. I was told, and it's in the book, that Al Wilson had everybody working out in the weight room 2 days after they returned. So this day in Tennessee football history could be Al Wilson in the weight room. Well, no, he would have been gone. But I think it just depends on how you take it as your leaders.
Yeah, no, you were right. It does. It all depends on the leadership. And I think Tennessee does have the right leaders. Look, we have a guy on the show, Cooper Mays. Cooper Mays was there for Tennessee when they lost to Purdue 2 years ago in the Music City Bowl, when they got robbed. By the way, that's their only bowl loss in a decade plus, and they got cheated in that game. Jalen Wright scored. But they came back and went 11-2 the next year. I don't think people are going to say they may have rested on their laurels with last year's Orange Bowl win. I don't think they rested on their laurels. I just think Joe Milton was limited. I think it was just that simple, honestly. So I think they have the right leaders to stay focused on the year. I think more than anything, just from a financial perspective, the bowl win helps Tennessee because I think it is going to spike ticket sales. And not that they weren't already spiked, but it's going to increase prices. More people are going to be fighting for those tickets because now everybody got a taste of Nico and everybody wants to see him next year now. So I think the bowl win, the most important thing it did was generate hype for ticket sales. And in an age of NIL, guys, ticket sale revenue matters a lot. Dave, you've covered teams in the 2000s, right? Where it's not that Tennessee ever had trouble selling tickets, but there were years where maybe the fight for season tickets weren't at what they were in previous years.
No, I agree. And I think there are going to be more donations because of Nico to the school. I think there are going to be more NIL donations. Now, that doesn't mean that they have the cash on hand, because we were talking earlier about, is Tennessee out of NIL money? I guess only Spire Sports knows that for sure. But with Tennessee, they can only pay so many players, Caleb, but that money that could come in from Nico playing in the Citrus Bowl is budgeted by businesses. So it's not like Walmart's going to call up and say, hey, that Citrus Bowl just ended. Can I pledge $10 million to Spire Sports? I mean, these are budgeted over years. So the impact of Nico in NIL and in overall funding coming into the university and collectives may not be felt for another year.
No, that's very true. You're right. And but it still could be helpful. I mean, that's where it would help long term. It probably doesn't help this year. Where it helps this year is if Tennessee goes and adds some players on the transfer portal. And we don't know if they're going to be doing that yet. So we're going to have to see how that goes. But it's definitely still could be helpful this year. We just don't know exactly how helpful. And that's kind of the question that we're asking at the moment. But overall, I mean, I don't think this bowl win hurts. I don't think Tennessee's going to rest on their laurels because they won this bowl game. I mean, I know this. I think that there are some bowl games where the losses actually hurt. You covered the Music City Bowl loss, right? With North Carolina, when North Carolina ran like 25 men on the field, right?
Yeah.
I think
there's some bowl games I just soon forget, but yeah.
This is the Tyler Bray year where Jansen Jackson laid the dirty hit that set up the North Carolina game tying field goal in North Carolina. Yeah.
But at least that didn't lead to more moral issues for Jansen.
No, not at all. Jansen, noted respecter of human life.
Murderer.
But Derek Dooley, I think that bowl loss really hurt Derek Dooley because I think in recruiting that sent a message that this guy doesn't know how to do in-game coaching at all. He can't handle, late game tight situations. I think that did so much damage to Dooley, that bowl loss, quite honestly.
What's the most impactful bowl game, that win or lose, that Tennessee has had, in your opinion? Brought to you by Tennessee Cider Company, the original hard cider of the Smoky Mountains. Use that promo code HAT to receive some free swag with your cider order. Available most anywhere in the U.S. tncidercompany.com, tncidercompany.com. I don't even think it's close. I think the 97 loss in the Orange Bowl, 97-98 Orange Bowl, was the biggest loss the most impactful bowl in Tennessee football history, because it led to some players being really mad and it led to a national championship. I can't even come up with a close second. You?
I'm trying. It's very hard for me to come up with a close second. The only one I could maybe say is the 86 Sugar Bowl win over Miami, because I think that actually brought Tennessee back to national prominence and helped Johnny Majors recruit on a national level. Because if you remember, there were 8 or 9 years of Majors of mediocrity, right? And they weren't that good his first 8 or 9 years. They kind of backed their way into the SEC titles that year. Florida was on probation. A lot of things happened. So they get to the Sugar Bowl. And you may remember, I mean, I think you were a kid at the time, but you could tell me, wasn't the R at the time, like Tennessee wasn't even in Miami's class, didn't belong on the same field?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And they just, yeah.
Because I'm a Cowboys fan, so I've read Jimmy Johnson's book and I've read the Cowboys book, and they thought that they were going to roll in there and just thrash Tennessee, and the entire country did too.
Yeah. So, and they were already campaigning to say that we should be national champs if we win this game. We should be number one. And I think Tennessee's win, didn't that help Tennessee go and recruit nationally after that and put them back on the map, on the national map?
You look at the talent they had. Oh, was it 89? They started 0-6. That was because they were
88.
They had some defensive coordinator issues, but that's another story. They had the talent. There's no question. Now, Rocky Top Tom brings up a good one that was impactful, and that was the 33-3 loss in the Peach Bowl to Maryland. That was devastating, and he goes on to say it sealed the end for Philip Fulmer. I hadn't thought of that really that way. I covered that game. I hadn't thought that it sealed the end. Do you think that game was that impactful in his opinion?
A really great point by Rocky Top Tom. And I'm going to bring up why, actually. I never even thought of that until he said it, because there was no early signing period. And that was the 2002 team that started out number 5, got hit with the injury bug, and went 8-5, as you remember, Dave, very well. Mm-hmm. They finished with a loss to Maryland. 2003, it's their first non-top 25 finish since 1988. Their recruiting ranking in 2003 was 18th. That was by far the lowest ranked recruiting class Philip Fulmer had ever had at Tennessee up to that point, because he had all top 5 classes from pretty much 93 to 2001 or to 2002. And
undoubtedly, we have the smartest community and group of viewers and listeners. Thank you, Rocky Top Tom. That was a fantastic point. No question about it.